From the wall running to the jump jets, to the giant death robots that are sworn to protect you, from machines to common soldiers, holograms and pulse blades, sweet melee executions to not so sweet kills with firearms, Titanfall 2 has a lot to offer. But what do you actually get? Here's a look into the first 30.
To the frontier. The pilot is the true dominant force. Fast and agile. Graceful, yet devastating. Perceptive, resourceful, and relentless. A pilot sees the world differently. Sheer walls become flanking routes. Pilots fight differently. Experienced in deception and maneuver, even overwhelming odds shift in their favor. But what truly separates the pilot from all the grunts and machines of the battlefield is the bond between a pilot and a Titan. When linked to a Titan, a pilot can only be stopped by overwhelming force, or an equal. The frontier has been the only home I've ever known. For years, our lands have been destroyed by the IMC, forcefully taking our resources, polluting and destroying our planets, and killing us off if we try to resist. Despite recent victories at Demeter and beyond, we have a long way to go before the IMC is defeated. Now, I serve as a rifleman in the militia, fighting to free the frontier. I'm a long way from becoming a pilot. But when that day comes, I hope I can live up to the honor.
Titanfall 2 is a sequel to the original Titanfall game on the Xbox 360 that came out in March of 2014, and it was well received at the time of its launch 6 years ago, from the critics. Players, on the other hand, not so much. Titanfall 2 was actually the first real game Respawn launch that took off, even though it fell between the cracks of two other very huge games like Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1. EA set this game to die straight from its release, but that didn't stop people from getting into it and loving it like I do. The movement system seemed responsive and easy to manipulate, and it felt freeing to move around with such grace. Okay, maybe not so graceful, but still, it made me feel like I could do something I haven't done before, like being a pilot for a giant-ass robot wielding a massive chain gun. After the intro cinematic, that still gives me chills to this day. The introduction of us to Jack Cooper, our hero of the story, the first scene you see is of a pilot talking to you in front of a sim pod that trains other riflemen like Jackie Boy over here, a wannabe pilot for the militia. Well, let's get into the militia a little bit. Who are the militia? Well, that's sort of important, but not really at the same time. Essentially, they were pioneers living on distant planets, and the company, the IMC, that sent them there to their new homes got greedy and wanted more from what they had. The militia said no, and the IMC, the bad guys, wanted to take what the militia had by force, and it caused a large-scale conflict across multiple planets and solar systems. That about cover it? Good. After the Simpod reboots on the MCS James McAllen, Jack and Captain Lastimosa, the pilot training little rifle boy here, set into a blissful little training exercise where you can run, jump, and shoot stationary targets all day long if you wish. After doing a little obstacle course for our pilot friend here, he pits us against the best the SRS has to offer, the Special Reconnaissance Squadron. And you get sorely disappointed when you finish above most of them on your first time around, and wonder if you're starting on the wrong side. After a little chit chat with our friend in green, he introduces you to BT-7274, who is his Vanguard class Titan, and the first Titan the militia has made with their own technology without stealing from the IMC. You try to summon your very own Titan, and then the system glitches and you're taken out of the Zim pod. And then you see soldiers running to their post because of course you can't do anything without threats being made that halts all possible training before the job. The title screen appears and you're falling out of the sky after the James McAllen is shot down and you take a crash landing far from where your intended destination was. You get injected with drugs I can't pronounce. Sensufentanol? Sensafentanol? Sensafentanol? I have absolutely no idea if that's even real, but hey, let's go with it. You shoot your way through a dozen or so robots sent to clean up what dropped from the life pods of the dreadnought you were just on. And you, being the protagonist, have no issue mowing through a dozen or so human-sized killer robots. Shortly after you make your way past, you are greeted delightfully by a Titan falling from who knows where, and you get the pleasure of watching it crush and dismantle your comrades, only for you to be saved by our favorite SRS Titan pilot combo. Combat ensues with the hostile Titans from a mercenary group known as the Apex Predators, a couple of European-sounding pilots who have all really basic names aside from the leader who is named Blisk. Kuben Blisk. What a fucking name that is. He stops Richter from finding you, and you fall into a nice deep sleep, only to be brutally woken up by a sweet little puppy dog dragging you into the daylight. And shortly after the playful little growling match between the two of them, BT, who just got his ass kicked, he shoots the poor puppy, and then they run away. Now, your job, after Lastimosa with his dying breath, grants you pilot access to BT-7274, or also known as BT, is now to find batteries to power up the Titan chassis. You use your new pilot powers to wall run, slide, and execute any IMC soldier, and Puppy Dog on the way as you follow a trail to get some AA batteries for your Xbox controller. On the way, I grabbed someone's squirt gun, turns out it was filled with piss, so I slid over some rocks, asked how my knee tasted, he didn't answer. Found out some kids were playing with drones, took them out of the sky because it was a no-fly zone, stabbed my knife into the head of a couple robots and had them do my bidding, and grabbed my first battery. After returning to my new mech, I saw them being looked at the wrong way. I told the people I'd tell my mom on them, and they ran. And I may have stabbed one of them in the neck. I couldn't tell you what caused them to run, but I'm pretty sure that was it. I put the battery that I got from the TV remote to my toy and headed off to grab another one from my sister's room. Don't ask where. I followed the path given to me, and after Spartan kicking some fool who stood too close to the edge and nearly falling off into the abyss myself shortly after, I continued my journey to grab battery number 2. Another IMC soldier wanted to taste my knee. I think it filled him up so much that he passed out into a food coma. I took an entire enemy camp on my lonesome and momentarily became a chiropractor, then decided it's best I stick to being a pilot for the time being. I grabbed the second battery from the James McAllen and made my way back to our newly awakened robot. After clearing some of his little brothers out of the way, I had time to place a second battery into his last battery slot. He then told me of the 3 protocols of becoming a pilot Titan combo. Protocol 1, link to the pilot. Protocol 2, uphold the mission. And lastly, Protocol 3, protect the pilot. After linking and gaining some control over my oversized toaster oven, I could break reality and stop projectiles with what looked to be the Force. After a few waves of children getting repelled by the unstoppable Order 66, a shoulder rocket allowed me to lock onto my targets with stupid precision and barrage them with 1 oversized missile each. Once I finished with Team Rocket, a chain gun and full movement capabilities were now in my possession. An enemy IMC Titan fell from orbit to be greeted harshly and taken out with extreme prejudice. With a combination of electric smoke, a few rounds from my machine gun, and a lot of rockets fired from my shoulder, he went down without any issues. Then the game's first 30 minutes were up, and the first mission was completed. Titanfall 2 will always hold a special place in my heart as a great game, and of course I'd recommend it to anyone who is willing to try it. If shooters aren't your thing, then this game obviously isn't for you. And on the other side, if you like shooters but never had the time to pick it up, then what's stopping you? The campaign will only take you nearly 5 or 6 hours to complete, and the story is actually really rich if you listen to the dialogue. There's a dedicated fan base on Reddit who love this game dearly and are more than willing to talk about it. And now that Titanfall is in the past, Apex is now Respawn's baby and EA's baby. Titanfall 3 is actually looking more promising than ever before. The game is about $30 on Origin and Steam, and both links to your preferred platform is going to be in the link below. And on Xbox and PlayStation from their digital stores, it runs maybe $20. But if you go to GameStop, a used copy is like $5. So there really isn't any reason not to try it if you're a console player. And if you haven't already, What's stopping you? I would like to thank everyone who stayed and watched the entire video all the way through. I really appreciate it, and I wanted to start doing more first 30s in this style. I think if this is the preferred style, I think this is better. It's easier to listen to, and that it gets my point across in a timely manner. The last one was 47 minutes, and a 10-minute video is much easier to A, edit, and B, upload. And I guess C as well. For you guys, it's easier to listen to, pick up, and put up and drop off. And yeah, so the preferred format, I want you guys to comment down below which ones you guys like better. This version, the condensed 10-minute version, where I just kind of generally go over the game, or the first 30 minutes of the game, I guess. Or you want me to do a playthrough style first 30, where I walk through the entire game and talk over it. But that's all I have for you today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Like I said, make sure to check out the links to the other videos for the first 30 and whatever YouTube recommends. Yeah, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that may be.